Hello everyone and welcome to the Math Lab. My name is Jason Gregerson and in this first module we're going to be learning the basics of Mathematica. Specifically in this first video we're going to be working with cells. So the big idea is that Mathematica operates on a cellular level. So all of the content is automatically placed into a cell. And so over here to the right I can select the different cell containers that hold all the content. So there's basically two types of cells. Text cells, where the text is located, and input cells, or math cells, where we'll put the Wolfram code and do our calculations. We'll first look at text cells. The key idea with text cells is they have a hierarchy to them. So we can create title cells, chapter cells, section cells, and so on that are nested so they can be opened and closed. So for instance here I have two types of text cells, and up here I have a subsection cell. The subsection is higher in the hierarchy, so that means when I click the outer cell block, if I double click on that, everything will collapse to the subsection. Furthermore, up here I have a section cell, and so if I double click on this outer cell, everything will collapse to the section level. If I double click again, I can open these. If you look at a specific cell, you can see this little hook at the bottom of that outer cell, which tells me there's content inside, so I know that I can double click and open it. So now that we know the different types of text cells and their hierarchy, how do I actually create text cells? There's basically two ways I can do that. First, I can put my cursor in between two cells and click, and I'll see this little gray line appear. If I then right click in that area, then I can insert new cell, and I can choose from the different types of cells. Another thing I can do is grab an existing cell and select that, and then right click and just modify its style to change it to a section or subsection or so on. The last technique is a shortcut method. If I once again click in between space to generate that gray line, I can use the shortcut keystroke of Alt plus a number. So for instance, if I held down Alt and pressed 3, I would generate this type of text cell. If I held down Alt and pressed 5, it would be this kind of text cell. So Alt plus a number will use different types of text cells. Now that we know how to create them, what can we do with them? Well, we can create a bunch of different cells, and it's easy for us to manage them. For instance, I just created this cell right here, but if I want to get rid of it, I just go to the right and select the cell and hit the delete button and it goes away. So I can easily delete them. I could certainly select a cell, press Control C to copy it, press Control V to paste it, so I can copy cells as well. The other thing I can do is if I click into a specific cell, I can then right click, bring up a little menu, and divide that cell. And of course, if I divide two cells, now I've broken that text cell into two different pieces, I should also be able to combine them. And so sure enough, if I highlight both cells and then right click, I'll have the option to merge the cells back together. Now I see they've been combined into one larger text cell. So I can copy, delete entire cells. I can also merge or divide cells as well. So now that we've talked about text cells, let's move on to input cells, or math cells. So input is actually the default type of cell. So they are easier to create. If I click in between two cells or just hit the down arrow until I'm between cells, if I just start typing, for instance, if I just type 16 divided by 4, a math cell is automatically generated. Now to evaluate content in a math cell, I hold down Shift and hit Enter. When I hit Shift Enter, it does the computation. I generate an output cell and I have my value of 4. Now some things that we're going to talk about very early with our math cells or input cells are that one, if I modify this cell, for instance change it to 15 divided by 4 and hit Shift Enter, the old output is replaced by the new output. So if I'm worried about losing my old output, I could certainly copy and paste the cell and then redo the calculations. The other thing to note here is that when I took 15 divided by 4, it did not kick out a decimal value, it gave me the fraction 15/4. If I want to get a decimal output, the easiest way to do that is to put a decimal in. If I put a decimal in and evaluate, I'll get a decimal out. So those are a couple of big ideas about math cells. So we've talked about text cells and math cells. That's going to conclude our video dealing with cells. All right, thank you.